I'm Joseph,
And I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My brain and personality might be dormant for a segment of this podcast.
Why is that?
Well, I'm tired. I went out last night and
How was that?
I had fun. Just milling about as tick tock, my biological clock uh, went on by. That's a working girl reference, but
Oh, good. Well, you got a lot of really nice messages on the YouTube community page because I posted a picture of you.
Oh God.
um,
I can only imagine. I haven't looked yet.
it's that Martyrs poster I made. I think it's a cute picture. You don't like that picture?
I think I don't know if that's my best work, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Oh, well, good. Well, I guess we should move on because we have to go have brunch.
We have to.
We have to get French toast.
I don't remember the last time I went to brunch.
Well, yeah, like an official brunch. I couldn't. Oh, the cat fell.
The cat beefed it. Oh, she was. That was her hanging out to the back of my chair like cliffhanger.
Well, let's move on to more crazy shit, and we can get back to your birthday as you start to liven up. But I'm only mentioning this because we talked about Andy Dick before.
Yes,
but he's been
Andy.
sentenced to 90 days in jail for an incident that occurred back in 2018 where he groped an Uber driver.
I feel like that's hard to do.
And I was trying to get more information, but it sounds like it was some articles I read said it was an Uber Eats driver. So like the person dropping off his food, and then others had just said an Uber driver, but he grabbed this man's genitals. And of course that person pressed charges against him for assault. But yeah, so now he gets 90 days in jail, which is in addition to all the other things that he's gotten in trouble for. So this is kind of crazy.
Well, yeah. Just imagine Andy Dick groping your member while it smells like garlic naan and chicken tikka masala.
Ooh. Okay. So do you know what a catalytic converter is?
In my car.
It is an auto part.
It's something that sometimes you have to pay for and that people often steal.
Well, so that's what I was going to talk about. So it's part of the emissions system, but people steal them because they contain some pretty rare metals, including platinum
and unobtainium.
But so then I went on this rabbit hole of watching all these videos of people stealing them, and they basically like people do it in broad daylight.
Of course they do.
And they will jack up your car in like 30 seconds, and then they basically take these big like metal cutters, like bolt cutters, and they basically cut off a part of your exhaust, like the muffler. Mm-hmm. And then they take that and then disassemble it.
Just imagine you go to get your chicken tikka masala and then you come out and find your car jacked up with the exhaust cut off.
But the reason it was on my radar is that there was an article that the Torrance Police Department, so Torrance is in South Bay, which is like near the airport.
Yes.
We used to live over there.
I'm familiar.
So last week when I was at work, which is also in South Bay, I noticed there was a Lamborghini Urus, which is the Lamborghini SUV, which is a very expensive car, like a $220,000 car. And I saw one in South Bay parked at like a regular schmegular house. And it had this, and it was like a lime green color. So a very unique car. And of course, it caught my attention. And then I saw that on KTLA, which is a LA news publication I read, that the Torrance Police Department put out an APB, or not an APB, like an alert about there are these catalytic converter thieves driving around in this lime green Lamborghini stealing them. So the likelihood that the car that I saw is what the police department was talking about is probably very high. But what's more crazy is that is a super expensive car.
Mm-hmm.
And there's video of this car going and stealing these parts. And then I was reading that, you know, it's very easy talking about we just watched a movie where the thieves, Poker Face, the Russell Crowe movie, where this like bootleg ass burglar is trying to steal like, you know, $1 million art pieces. And then it's like, well, where would you ever sell those?
Right. And you don't even know Cezanne. Why would you?
Right.
And
But it's very easy to sell these catalytic converters. Like places will just take them. And on average, I believe it's like $300 per. So it's kind of big money
like abalone shells in
if
some
you're bold
cultures.
enough. But yeah.
That reminds me though of a lyric from Megan Thee Stallion's Savage about, "Ooh, I'm in a lamb, bitch. Catch me if you can."
Well, I guess it's, these people are out
If they
here.
get your catalytic converter, they can catch you.
I just think that's so crazy. Like driving around in that expensive ass car, stealing people's like car parts. But I guess it's also like you wouldn't expect it. But
Sure.
it's also a very noticeable car. So even if I wouldn't expect the person in that car to steal, I would certainly notice the
Oh, I
car.
would. I don't trust anybody.
But anyway, if for people who are interested, there are lots of videos on YouTube of like owners of these cars like recording people stealing, and they don't give a shit
Oh my God.
because police don't respond to it, right?
Sure.
So it's like no one's gonna come and stop them.
I don't know what that we can't get into that. I don't, you know, you don't know what you're going to do unless you're presented with the situation. But I would like to think that I would not record that. I would probably try to take action, which would end disastrously. But, you know,
Well, this is why I need a stun gun, mace,
yes,
and
a
this is why
baseball
public
bat.
guns are a bad idea because probably might use the gun, but which is like, could you imagine someone dying over a catalytic converter?
Yes.
I mean, that's
I mean, I know I don't want to, but yeah, you're not going to be in my driveway jacking up my car.
yeah. It was
No.
watching these videos was very upsetting because I thought, yeah, what if I walked downstairs and walked in our garage and someone had opened it and had
Oh,
my
something's happening.
had my
Something is
car on.
happening.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like, I don't know. I feel so like it's such a violation for someone. I know some people don't care about their cars or their house, but it's like I'd feel so violated if someone came into my
It's not
house.
about the care. Like you know, inherently don't really care about a car, but it's mine. I paid for it. That shit is paid off. You're not touching it.
Yeah, I would be so upset. But anyway, I'm going on a rant about catalytic converters. Lastly, someone pointed out that the film The Menu, which we
Hmm.
reviewed, starring Ray Fiennes and
Anya Taylor Joy.
which we liked, that movie premiered on November 18th.
Uh-huh.
So this past Friday, which was the 44th anniversary of the Jonestown Massacre.
Oh
So
damn.
the Jonestown Massacre, which I think it's in a foreign, like Guyana, I think,
Hmm.
that occurred on November 18th as well,
Oh.
1978.
Oh,
So
what a good year that was. What a good year.
yeah, so like not even like 3 weeks after I was born, that's when that happened.
Hmm.
Um,
Scorpio season.
yeah. Okay, moving on to films that were released we didn't cover. Bad Acts.
Bad Acts, a real-time portrait of 2020 unfolds as an Asian American family in Trump's rural America fights to keep their restaurant and American dream alive in the face of a pandemic, neo-Nazis, and generational scars from the killing fields, is the description, which is better than I could describe it because I have not seen it. But that sounds very interesting and probably very personal and depressing. But that's a documentary that opened this week that we did not cover.
Mickey, the Story of a Mouse.
Guess what that's about?
Don't tell me it's about Mickey Mouse.
It is.
Oh.
It's a documentary directed by Jeff Malmberg, who you might remember for his previous doc, Marwinkle, which was made into a film that was not very good, starring Steve Carell, directed by Robert Zemeckis, called Welcome to Marwen. Terrible, terrible.
Oh.
It was a very good example of how this is a documentary subject about somebody's tragedy, and then the film is not good. But anyway, Jeff Malmberg, new documentary, didn't watch it.
The People We Hate at the Wedding.
I would see this because I like Allison Janney, and we just listened to her on Smartless.
Who I have to say, I didn't picture her being. So first of all, she comes from money. So she's kind of privileged and used to be like like an accomplished ice skater, right?
Hmm.
Until she was involved in a pretty bad accident where she like her body flung through like a glass
Plate or
window,
something. Yeah.
something, and it damaged her tendons in her legs, so she had to stop. But yeah, for some reason, I think based off of how she seems to be, I thought she was more of like a Joan Crawford type, like rough beginnings, and then sort of turned into the
Oh, sure.
strong, accomplished woman. But she had a pretty easy growing up.
Well, you can't, we can't help where we come from, but
No, but it's always like, oh, okay. And then the way she talks about stuff, yeah.
I I like her a lot. She has that. I think that interview was the weekend's Lou came out on Netflix, which is terrible. Even though yes, I do like seeing an older woman uh, in an action film. Hashtag Sigourney Weaver, but yes, she has a new film. I think Kristen Bell is in it. The People We Hate at the Wedding, directed by Claire Scanlon. That is on Amazon, streaming as of Friday.
Scrooge: A Christmas Carol.
New Netflix film that they're opening in theaters first. Animated film directed by Stephen Donnelly and Olivia Colman and Jess Buckley, who of course played the same character in The Lost Daughter, are voices.
Oh, Slumberland.
I've seen billboards for this around Hollywood with Jason Momoa, a new Netflix film about a child in some fantasy land, directed by Francis Lawrence, who did some films I didn't like. For some reason, Water for Elephants always comes to mind, but I know he did the last two Hunger Games films, stuff like that. Mr. Francis Lawrence, but Jason Momoa is joined by Chris O'Dowd.
Lastly, Taurus.
I saw this at Berlin and we received screeners. And if we had more time, but we did a lot this week, I guess I don't know how you feel about Machine Gun Kelly, aka what's his name, Colson Baker.
I've seen him once. We were at a screening at
So on the
Sony.
Sony lot, and he was right in front of us, and you pointed him out to me, and I wouldn't have known that man. He's just a tall white thing.
He's pretty distinguishable because he's tall and thin, and then he has like, I mean, he kind of looks like a cartoon
I
character.
see that all over West Hollywood, but he he is in this film directed by Tim Sutton, and you know what? I have to be honest. I think that I don't really enjoy a lot of Tim Sutton's, well, at least his past couple films, because Funny Face, which I've seen twice, which we reviewed on our channel. I don't know. I think because of the success of Dark Knight, which was a kind of a deliberation on the violence that happened at the movie theater at the Dark Knight when that shooter killed all those
Oh,
people. He made a film that got a lot of attention that I think is fine, but I don't know. This new film about this musician gone haywire that has Megan
Fox.
Fox in it momentarily without any real dialogue. I thought it was kind of boring, but yeah, that opened this weekend.
Moving on to movies we watch for fun. I watched the Hulu documentary "God Forbid: The Sex Scandal That Brought Down a Dynasty." It's about Jerry Falwell Jr. Um, being removed. I believe his title was like Chancellor of Liberty University, that Christian school that his dad uh, founded. But it focuses on a young man whose name I just forgot, but he's this young Cuban American guy who started having an affair with Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife. And it was kind of like a cuckold situation where Jerry would sort of be in the room and wanted to watch, but it wasn't always like that. And then it's turned into like
It never is.
she loved, like this lady fell in love with this young man, and it got messy. But the biggest thing that stands out about this documentary is I don't think I've seen a documentary that's so like, I guess the word I would use is crass. Like just everyone in it is just talking just so loose and crazy. And then you have like Donald Trump as a part of it. And because of Jerry Falwell Jr.'s connection to Donald Trump and believing that he's the one who got Donald Trump elected as president. So, and this young Cuban American man um, got the chance to be around Donald Trump quite a bit, and then we get some pieces about Michael Cohen, and but excuse me, it's pretty. I was pretty shocked how loose everyone's talking, and the young man who's involved. I mean, he's pretty open about it. His family, like his sister, his mom, like his sister, like he told her a lot about what he was doing. So it's just very interesting hearing these people talk so explicitly about what was going on. It felt a little chaotic. The music, that because it's set in, this young man lived in Miami, and that's where he met the Falwells. So it kind of has like a Miami, like a South Beach vibe with like that dancey music. So it's just a lot, sensory overload. But you put on A Return to Salem's Lot,
Yes.
and I watched that too with you.
You watched the majority of that too, yeah.
And I thought it was very entertaining.
I did too. I was not expecting for a different kind of terrible sensory overload.
Because I was sitting on the couch trying to work,
Mhm.
and you put it on, and it caught my attention immediately. Because from the title, I thought it was going to be
Well, so
like Children of the Corn. I mean, I don't know what I thought it was going to
well,
be.
yeah, I mean that's apt because Salem's Lot is a Stephen King novel. Is I think it's second or third, which I've read years ago. But Toby Hooper turned that into a television series that you and I have watched. It's like, which basically amounts to a 3-hour film. I remember James Mason,
Oh,
and it's yeah, quite. I like the Toby Hooper's original. So this was a follow up that I'd never seen, but it caught my attention because it's directed by Larry Cohen, who I am a huge fan of, mostly for I mean, I love It's Alive, and God Told Me to Kill, which I consider, that's damn near a perfect film for what he was able to achieve with it. If you've never seen it, but so he did this film the same year as It's Alive 3, Island of the Alive, which stars the wonderful Karen Black. But yes, I'd never seen this. I didn't realize it's considered like the lowest point in his career. He started out in blaxploitation films and kind of ended on that note too with Original Gangstas. But so this film is terrible. It is absolute trash. But
well, the three principal people are.
well, I cannot stand Michael Moriarty, and he is.
That's all you. The entire film, you just kept saying how much you didn't like him.
Oh, he's so terrible in everything.
Although now that you say that, he reminds me of the lead in our secret film today. Like just sort of like pale, potatoy guys. Like I don't know.
You got that gnocchi face, girl. I mean, he's probably best known for Law and Order, but he's the reason why I don't like Larry Cohen's Q, the Winged Serpent. And I think is he in the first Troll with Julia Louis Dreyfus? I just don't like anything about him. But yes, he is the star.
So there's him. Then there's his son.
There's this where the children swear more than the adults. The children are foul-mouthed in this.
Oh, it's so funny though.
But you have like all these interesting people in the background too, like Ronnie Blakely, Evelyn Keyes, June Havoc, like these aged Hollywood stars. And then
Are you looking at the IMDb page?
Yeah.
Read what the premise is.
Oh, a man and his son vacation to the quiet vampire populated town of Salem's Lot.
So it's a town with a bunch of old people as vampires. But the highlight of this film
is
to me,
Samuel Fuller, the
director, is playing like kind of like a vampire hunter.
Except he keeps saying he's a Nazi hunter.
This movie is worth watching for the kids cussing. Shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah, very Barbra Streisand.
And then what's the director's name again?
Samuel Fuller.
Samuel Fuller Stomp. He's like this little rickety old man, and he's just running around these scenes like
he looks insane, chomping on a cigar.
And his acting, it's just I don't know how a director acts so poorly.
Well, I feel like I don't know what happened on the set of this film, but it is. But you've seen his work. Well, at least you've seen The Naked Kiss because we did a podcast on it, and I love that film. But I'm a huge fan of Samuel Fuller, and he's presented himself in other films. He's in Wim Wenders' is what's it called, The State of Things, which was only 5 years before this. But this is crazy. It is.
I would recommend it for fun. Moving on, you also put on Waist Deep.
Yeah, that was a good double feature that
which
day.
is
6.
2006. It stars
Tyrese Gibson and Megan Good, uh, and shot in LA and directed by Vondi Curtis Hall.
the premise I thought was interesting. Tyrese plays this guy whose son gets kidnapped, and then he's told that you need X amount of dollars to get your kid back, and
Yeah, he's just in his car and they snatch it.
he gets carjacked.
But it's because in his past he served time in prison for something that I don't remember, and somebody knows that he probably has money stashed somewhere.
So it's not a random hijacking, and then he gets sort of like she's made out to seem to be like a prostitute slash like clothes vendor.
Has a suit that she's trying to just sell in the
She's on the
street.
corner, like how some people sell flowers or oranges in the corner. She has a man's suit in a garment bag that she's trying to
And
sell.
not that I don't believe people do that, but not someone that looks like Megan Good.
But anyway, yeah, they sort of joined forces because Good is also kind of scared of her pimp, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought it was shot really interestingly. There is one song that plays over and over again.
Yeah, the score. It's interesting. It was directed by Vondi Curtis Hall, who's probably an actor you've noticed in a lot of stuff. He also has the misfortune of being accredited for directing Glitter, I believe. But I didn't realize the kid looked familiar to me. And it's Henry Hunter Hall, who we just saw in The Watcher, the Ryan Murphy series.
And that's his son.
And I'm like, oh, that must be his kid. And then I didn't realize, I wish I would have realized this when we reviewed The Watcher. That kid's mother is Casey Lemons, and also very notable director who, of course, did East Bayou and the Harriet Tubman film with Cynthia Erivo. And you should probably recognize her face because she was in a few films, especially in the early 90s. She's in Silence of the Lambs and Candyman.
What an interesting household.
Yeah, very interesting. But I didn't like the film, despite I don't, we in this household we usually call her Megan Not So Good, but she's getting better.
Well, and I also can't stand Tyrese.
You have more of a hatred for Tyrese than hatred. I don't. Every now and then he'll surprise me because I maintain that Baby Boy is a pretty damn good film directed by the late John Singleton. But yeah, I thought he was fine. It was actually very compelling. I think it's kind of impressively shot with all the stunts that they did in Los Angeles with these cars. Yeah, for a film that I just randomly put on that I'm sure most people don't talk about now, I was impressed.
Okay, projects of interest. Horizon.
Yes, that is Cesar Augusto Acevedo, who won the golden he won best first feature basically at Cannes for his Land and Shade in 2015. He's finally doing another project, and what's most exciting to me probably is that starring Paulina Garcia, who won Best Actress in Berlin for Gloria, Sebastian Lelio's film that he, of course, remade with Julianne Moore. But if you've never seen Gloria from 2013, I highly recommend it. You'll fall in love with Paulina Garcia.
Next, Monster.
Hirokazu Koreeda, who was he's very busy, and I usually like him. I happen to loathe Broker, his last film, which just played at Cannes, but he has finished a series and just announced that he wrapped another project in Japan called Monster. The plot details are kept under wraps. It's got a Japanese release date in like June of next year, which means that it will be probably at Cannes.
Lastly, Moxie.
Bert of Bert and Birdie, that co-directorial team that did Troop Zero with Alison Janney and Viola Davis, has announced a project that's going to star Keke Palmer called Moxie.
All right. Unfortunately, there is an entry in the obituary section.
And I only found out about it because I do daily news searches on Sigourney Weaver.
Douglas McGrath.
Douglas McGrath died. He was 64. It was unexpected. I think he was in the midst or somewhere in a one-man show in New York. A film director that's, he wrote, Woody Allen flew in from Paris because Woody's shooting a new film, apparently to quietly attend the funeral that was Michelle Pfeiffer and her husband and Sigourney were at. He co-directed Company Man with Peter Askin, and then also an Infamous in 2006, the Truman Capote film with Toby Jones, where she plays Babe And what's strange about that film at the time, I think Gwyneth Paltrow was one of the highest paid people for a cameo is this, I think, Peggy Lee in that film. Anyway, he's also written several Woody films, including, I think, your favorite Woody film, Bullets Over Broadway.
Also, Douglas McGrath is a writer.
Writer and director.
Oh,
hmm He also directed a version of an adaptation of Nicholas Nickleby that I've never seen, because I've always wanted to read Nicholas Nickleby, which is a lengthy book by Dickens. But anyway, yeah. And his last film was, you've seen his last film. I remember renting it with you with Sarah Jessica Parker. I just don't know how she does it. Do you remember that?
With or who's the male in it?
I don't remember the male lead in that.
It's someone like a Hugh Grant, I think.
That's what happened to the Morgans or something.
Oh, then
I made you that great card about, have you heard what happened to the Gorgons?
Oh, the Gorgons, yeah.
And
well, goodbye to this person.
I know.
Rest in peace. I mean, I don't know.
You know, it's always when it's not expected.
All right, we need to take a break. Okay. So this week's secret film was my choice, but it was heavily inspired from our live video for Disturbia.
Mm-hmm.
This film got thrown out there in the chat, and I don't recall what the context was. But then you mentioned the director of this film directed another film I really liked. Yes. So I thought it would be fun. So we chose I chose, I guess, the 1990 American Black comedy horror film Frankenhooker, mm-hmm. directed by Frank Henenlotter. Mm-hmm. And I know his work because I saw a film called
Brain Damaged.
And you said I really liked it. I don't quite recall, but you showed me a still from it, and it does look very familiar.
Oh, Brain Damage is so fun. He's probably best known for Basket Case, which I might have shown.
Oh, with Joan Crawford. No.
Oh,
I'm thinking of Straight Jacket or Berserk. I think I put Berserk and Straight Jacket together for Basket Case.
Basket Case were the guys carrying around his brother in a little basket, basically.
No.
There might be 3 of those films, actually, but yeah.
But Frank Henenlotter sounds like someone I would really like.
Yes, I find him very entertaining.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still doing stuff.
Well, Frank, if you're out there, I would love to meet for coffee. But this film, the basic story is a med school dropout. His girlfriend, fiance, is killed in a freak lawnmower accident, and he sort of commits to bringing her back to life via Frankenstein style. So, you could say this movie is loosely inspired by Mary Shelley's novel.
Very loosely, but yes.
And he is successful, but then the tables turn, and because he ends up getting killed, and then in like a little twist, his creation turns him into a creation. I thought this movie was excellent. It was so much fun, and it's surprising, I think, how well done it is.
I agree. I remember renting it on VHS when I was in undergrad. I was doing a paper on prostitution in film, of course, for a women's studies course. And I'm like, Frankenhooker, what the hell is this? And
I think what really clicked with me is there is a light amount of humor. It's gory. I mean, how do I say it?
It's gory, but it's funny because the practical effects you can tell that somebody's being very inventive.
Yes, which I appreciated, but also like it's an adult film, but it's not like over the top, like sexual
or even violent, really.
Or violent.
Like, things happen, of course, but it's also strangely sweet in its own way. In the tone, I mean. But
so the main character is Jeffrey, and we find out, like I mentioned, he's a med school dropout. He's also really into like electrical type stuff, and we see him playing around with a brain that he's like
that's got a big eyeball in.
He's like implanted an eyeball in, and then we see that he's connected that to a video monitor. So he's very talented. And then we meet his fiance, because at his house they live with his mother, I believe. There's a party happening, and the fiance is out in the backyard talking to another young lady, and the fiance is going on about like, yeah, I have like food issues and weight problems, and I've tried every diet, this, that, and the third, and nothing's worked. But Jeffrey, even like Jeffrey, he stapled my stomach and I still can't lose weight.
That girl's like, Jeffrey operated on you.
And she's like, wait, wait, wait. So Jeffrey operated on
and,
you?
and they
Like, does he have a license to do that? No.
and they're trying to imply that she's got weight issues because she's wearing this large blousey, because she definitely does not.
Well, that actress was like a penthouse Playboy type
Mhm.
model, so clearly has like this perfect body, and you can tell from her face that she's probably very thin.
And
But
but she's eating pretzels, and immediately she shames. Like,
yeah,
you might want to watch those pretzels, gal.
um, so then that's happening, and then we see Jeffrey working on his little whatevers, and his mom approaches him asking for the ketchup, and the ketchup bottle was like right in the middle of his workstation. I thought that was so funny.
Yes.
Because I don't know, a lot about this movie seems like the filmmaker and whoever else was helping with the writing of it just was doing like this random nonsense
Yeah.
that I find funny.
I don't know that. I don't think that lady was his mother, because his mother's played by Louise Lasser,
You're right.
who seems kind of like, her performance in this seems like she's been lobotomized. But I I enjoy. You just saw her in Funny Face, and she's been around forever because she was in what was that TV series? Elizabeth Hart. What was that TV series she was in the 70s that was big?
Funny Face, I don't recall.
Not Funny Face, Funny Pages.
Oh, Funny Page.
She's in Mary Hartman. But do you remember Funny Pages when they go into that pharmacy in that scene where that old lady?
Oh, that's the old lady?
She's that old lady sitting in that wheelchair.
I'd highly recommend the movie Funny Pages. It's directed by
Owen Klein, Kevin Kline's kid, and Phoebe Cates.
Kevin Kline and Phoebe Cates' kid. But okay, so then the fiance she's gifting a lawnmower, or
Yes, she's gifting a lot more and showing how it's working.
I forget whose birthday it is, but like
I think it's one of the dads.
Yeah, like they gave him the gift of like this remote controlled lawnmower. So she's trying to demonstrate the lawnmower and she starts it and it starts moving towards her. And Jeffrey is kind of like, hey, get away from.
Don't stand right in front of it.
Like he doesn't
What?
stand up and run and stop her.
No.
He's just kind of like, hey, you shouldn't stand in front of that. And then the lawnmower runs her over and her body's ripped to pieces.
And the news story about it is
the newscast explaining what happened at this party where this woman is ripped to shreds by a lawnmower is hilarious. They're referring to it as like a human tossed salad.
Yeah, and they're talking about how curvaceous she was because they're trying to suggest she's a big woman.
I think that is so funny. So then after that happens, we see Jeffrey drawing up like blueprints for like the new woman he wants to make. And that lady, I don't know what kind of lady he was trying to make, but it looked like he was building China the wrestler. Because the blueprint is bigger than him.
Yeah,
so this lady is going to be bigger than him. Or it looked like they took like a 6'5" bodybuilder and traced him and then drew like anatomy on it.
It looked like
and then put titties on
a Nazi experiment, because he has pictures of her name's Elizabeth, like pasted over all of these models.
It looks like when someone gets abducted and they're trying to get like ransom and they take those like hostage photos or whatever. Those are the kind of lovely photos he had of his fiance.
And they're like framed. She looks like she's sleeping and awkward.
Yeah, none of that Olin Mills shit. It was hostage photos. So you're right about the mom, because there's a funny scene with the mom where Jeffrey's trying to explain to her basically that he's spiraling into insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if I can go on. You mentioned that it reminded you of the movie
The Sun
by Florian Zeller.
Yeah,
because the teenage boy in that movie is suicidal. And he keeps telling everyone,
I'm not well.
I'm not well. I don't think this world is for me. I don't know how I can go on. And everyone's like, you're fine. So then Jeffrey's telling his mom the same shit. And her response to him is, do you want a sandwich?
Very Cloris Leachman.
I thought that was so funny. So we transition to Jeffrey, like, his fiance's dead. And he sets up this elaborate dinner, like sets like the table with the china. And then he has Elizabeth's body parts on the table.
Yes.
He has her head, her foot.
He's feeding her wine. And
he serves her, like he puts wine in her mouth and we see the wine like dripping out of her severed neck. I thought that was so funny. And then finally, like the main entree, because he has in like one of those, like silver serving trays, and he takes off the lid and it's like an old raggedy ass slice of pizza. Okay, so when Jeffrey gets stressed out, like when he needs to calm his thoughts, this fool takes a power drill.
Yeah, it was disturbing.
And rams it into his head to sort of feel better. And it reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2,
Oh yeah.
where the guy is like scratching his scalp with the
Mhm.
wire hanger.
Well, also in Dahmer,
Or that, yeah. If you combine Jeffrey Dahmer with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2,
which is so weird because this is Dahmer was killing people at this time, but nobody knew who he was.
that's right. But you know, it sounds gruesome, but it's not. We don't see any blood, and you never you do see the drill going once, but it's like clearly being drilled into like Play-Doh. So it it's palatable, but it is disturbing. Okay. So Jeffrey's plan is he needs female body parts, and he's, you know, stressed out trying to think of how to do it. And then he drills into his brain and he gets the bright idea like, why don't I get female body parts by buying them?
Because there's women wanting to sell their parts across the river.
Because there are women who want to sell their body parts,
I'm not, and I was like,
e.g., prostitutes. So he goes across the river
to Manhattan because he's in New Jersey and he sounds
He
Jersey.
sounds very Jersey, but he goes across the river and he goes to this really rough part where there are prostitutes, which is funny because it's so rough, but these women are so beautiful.
I know.
And he meets one of them and says, I need like 6 or 7 of you bitches to come back. And so the main lady says, well, you got to talk to Zorro,
Yeah, the pimp.
like the main pimp. And the establishment that Zorro is in is called like Huevos Rancheros Bar and
Yeah,
Grill.
the interesting names of the bars.
And then the bar looks like a fucking nightmare, but the crowd inside the bar looked like, I mean, it looked like something you'd see at like First Ave. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a very eclectic crowd, and there were some actually like some good looking people in
There's
there.
another bar called the Sultry Arms, I think. Or something.
Yeah. So the crowd in this rough bar didn't really match, I think, what they're trying to do, but that makes it more funny.
Oh, and the bartender is named Spike, is played by Shirley Stoller of the Honeymoon Killers.
Oh. Well, we meet Zorro, and Zorro's this very handsome, like bodybuilder who could not act his way out of a bag.
No,
Even the ADR is bad, and then it's so bad in some scenes, like they're dubbing over him, and his mouth is not even moving.
Yeah, he's played by Joseph Gonzalez, who I think he might be in Basket Case as well.
So he meets Jeffrey, and they make the transaction. Like, we're going to set up this date where I'm going to bring all these girls, like my best girls, to you, and you're going to pick one you want. But in the process, Jeffrey sees him giving girls drugs. Like, it looks like cocaine, or I don't know what it would have been. Well, they call it glass. I don't know what glass is. Is that like
that type of
speed or
crack?
PCP? I don't know. But Jeffrey is like a fucking brilliant scientist. So he's like, oh,
Living in his mom's
I can
basement.
keep these women under control with drugs. So then we get a scene where Jeffrey makes super crack.
Mhm.
Okay, so now Jeffrey has super crack, and we see him test it on a guinea pig, and it makes the guinea pig explode.
Yeah.
So,
But he's like blowing it in there. It's like, you're blowing so much in there that this will come back to you to
and a quick pit stop. While he's doing this, we see on the TV that there's a news broadcast called like Motor Mouth, where it's like this guy ranting and raving about shit. And we have a representative from an organization called Hooker, which is an acronym for
hooked onto our knowledge of
Hold On to Our Knowledge of Equal Rights.
Yeah.
So it's this woman advocating for prostitutes, which I actually thought was a really interesting moment within the film.
Yes. Well, because you know, the tagline for the film is a tale of sluts and bolts. So
such a good tagline.
It's such a good tagline, but you know, we're up until that point, it just seemed like this is kind of, you know, exploitative and misogynist. But it's like, oh, there are
combined with this Hooker Hold On to Our Knowledge of Equal Rights group and the ending.
Yes,
I feel like this movie is more self-aware than you would think,
actually.
But so I think the best scene in the movie is Jeffrey finally goes to this like raggedy ass hotel to meet all these prostitutes because he's supposed to pick one. And he's wearing like a doctor's outfit and has his medical bag, and he gets 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts measuring all the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's almost kind of musical like if there would have been a song behind it, it could have been a weird scene in a musical. And then finally,
like
finally the main hoe is like, okay, well, you only have like a couple minutes left, and Zorro said you have to choose one of us.
Who are you gonna pick?
And he's like, I can't choose. I'm sorry, I can't do this, because he's like having anxiety about knowing that he's going to kill one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, give us our money. So he's like, all you care about is money, and he throws a bag at them that has money,
mm-hmm.
but it also has the super crack in it. And when I tell you, if for no other reason, you need to. I don't know if this movie, you own this movie.
No, I don't.
Oh no, you paid for it.
Yeah.
It's on streaming. It's worth a little $2.99 just to see the way these prostitutes react
Oh
to
my
this
God.
bag of super crack,
They get that bag of glass and they are screaming.
like it is the funniest shit. So then we get like a couple minutes of these prostitutes on super crack acting crazy as
They're
hell.
like horny and crazy. They're making out.
And then we had just seen the guinea pig explode.
Mhm.
So, and then Jeffrey keeps saying, "No, you're doing too much. You're doing too much.
Your
Like
body's not meant to do
your
that.
body can't handle it." And then one by one, these prostitutes start exploding. And
It's
it actually looks really good because what they did is they found mannequins
yeah.
and styled like the hair, the wigs to match the prostitutes.
Mhm.
So, and then it looks like they put fireworks inside of the
Well, all
mannequins
these heads are
and
exploding.
they're literally exploding, but somehow they were able to film it so
The editing, yeah.
like the editing is excellent.
Mhm.
I yeah,
Yeah.
this will be a scene that gets burned into my brain.
And what one of the heads flies off onto the pimp who can
Well,
hear
finally Zorro goes up to the hotel room like, "Where are my bitches?" And he breaks down the door, and right as he breaks the door down, the main prostitute's head explodes.
onto
And
him.
then like Jason 3D style or Friday the 13th 3D style rams right into his head and
Mhm.
knocks his ass out. It is so good.
So then Jeffrey gets all these parts that he needs. And of course the formula or whatever he's invented is only
Compatible with
estrogen based, so he can only bring, women back to life, of course.
But so when he gets back home, well, first of all, he has to collect all the body parts from the
Mhm.
exploded hookers. And so then he drives home with all these body parts in his trunk, and the trunk's wide open.
Mhm.
He gets home, and then he's talking to Elizabeth because he keeps her, body parts. And he's telling her, like, as long as I'm alive, you'll be safe. And then he drops her head. I thought that was really funny. And then he's like, "Oh, shit." And then he shakes her head, and it's rattling like it's broken.
So then lickety split, Patty Mullen comes back as Elizabeth.
And I thought that this was such a good character because the actor portraying sort of the Frankenstein monster hooker, Frankenhooker, she does such a good job.
Yeah.
The physical acting, the facial expressions, and then we see that she can only her brain is like an amalgamation of all the hookers. So all she can talk about is run me my money.
Well, in
You
like
want some sex? Give me some money.
in the last 10 minutes of that hooker's life, it's all of that dialogue.
Right. So we see her go back to the host role and basically like any man who like has sex with her or is intimate with her, like touches her in a sexual way, I guess the power of the super crack will kill them and they explode.
Mhm.
So we see like 3 men, I believe, try to
Yeah.
interact with her sexually and they explode. I thought that was so good. And then in the end, because now Jeffrey is out looking for her, like running around town talking about, have you seen this tall woman
With
wearing
purple hair.
And her like brat. The practical effects are very good because they make her look like one of those patchwork dolls. And so
Yes.
some of her body parts are different colors.
Well,
and like her areolas are purple for some reason.
And Zorro's pissed because all his girls are dead.
And then all of his girls are branded. They have a big Z on
Mhm.
their arm. And there's a scene where Zorro's like,
He runs into her and he's like, that's not your arm, that's my bitch's arm.
like, what?
But he's like, drinking his sorrows in that bar. And what's his line in there that's like, they didn't run away from you, they blew up.
Oh my God. It's just, I think it's hilarious. But the film ends with um Jeffrey brings his Frankenhooker back to his little lab and he ends up exploding because he kisses her, right?
Yeah. Well, and also Zorro shows up there.
Oh, that's right.
And which I think is actually a pretty good scene.
Oh, that's an excellent scene.
Because Jeffrey has a freezer full of these parts that he's kept in liquid,
and they're still alive.
But the parts themselves are alive and have mutated into very strange creatures.
The reason the parts are alive is because Jeffrey does the whole Frankenstein thing where he lifts the body into the air and there's a lightning storm, and that energy also transitions to the freezer where he's keeping the body parts. So when Frankenhooker reanimated, so did those body parts. So now that Zorro's back, the body parts are all like agitated.
Yes.
And they break out of the freezer and again, the practical effects are really good because these body parts have all congealed. So they're like lots of breasts put together, or like torsos with like mouths. It's really
It looks
creepy.
really good. It reminded me of the film Society too. But they devour Zorro the pimp and they pull him into the freezer. And I think that it looks, and I think it looks pretty decent and sounds good because what is it? What are they saying? Anybody got a
A
stem? And there's
stem
maniacal
because
laughter.
they want to do drugs. But then the final thing is that Jeffrey has also like been like he explodes, so his head's gone, or he's been decapitated.
What's his name? Zorro cuts his head off.
Oh, that's right. So Elizabeth is now back to normal. Like somehow she snapped
She's
out
been
of.
kind of recalibrated. He's
Yeah,
messing with the wiring too.
yeah. So now like Elizabeth has her regular brain, and she tells her decapitated fiance, like, don't worry, like I'll take care of you. And then she does
He
to
wakes up.
him
Yeah.
what he did to her. And she's like, well, sorry, you only did it for like estrogen based things. So now he has like a woman's body.
Yeah.
The end.
And she uses a line on him about how he had to do some unorthodox things to get her back, against her will from death, and in a form that, who knows that she'd appreciate. And she's done the same to him.
Yeah, I thought this movie was excellent. I would give it 4 out of 5. It I assumed it would be like a lot of these types of films where they're just like crap acting,
Zombievers,
like
yeah.
yeah, like they just like the practical effects are like the bare minimum, like no one even tried. And then the story makes no damn sense. But I thought, even though this is ripping off of a very popular story, I just thought everything about it was very well done for what it was.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Not unlike how I feel about Lucky McKee's May, which is a favorite of mine as well, and also a Frankenstein rehash. It's not that you can't reutilize certain things or pay a very strong homage to something, but it can still be original and fun and inventive.
yeah. Well,
It's kind of what I wanted. Life After, you never saw Life After Beth, directed by Aubrey Plaza's husband, starring her, where she plays it's a similar scenario where her fiance, she's come back to life. Well, she's a zombie, but there's nothing fun or exciting about that movie, but in my mind. But yeah.
Well, so we need to get going. We're going to have brunch. Do you have anything to say about your birthday now that you're more awake?
It's here.
I'll have
They're
read. I'll
here.
I'll have Nick read all of the nice messages on YouTube.
Yes, I will. I will peruse that. I don't know. It's just another day, really. But I'm happy that I caught up with my Letterboxd.
Oh yeah, Nick's letterbox is fully. All of his viewings have been entered, so we'll make a video going over it probably in the beginning of the new year.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because then you can also highlight like 2022 stats within it.
This is true.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of. Oh, I wanted to say about Frankenhooker. We didn't say his name. James Lorenz plays Jeffrey, who's kind of a character.
Oh, we
actor.
didn't say his name. Yeah, but he's quite charming.
He's entertaining, but he has a voice. I kept thinking, who does this sound like? He sounds like Ricky Rude, if you know who that is.
If you don't know who Ricky Rude is, get on iTunes or Spotify, and he has a song with Trina called
is it Model Ass
Stripper Model Face Stripper Ass,
yeah,
or something like that.
Trina's segment of the song is so good.
Yeah, Trina's lyrics are actually pretty good. But anyway, that's all I have.
Okay, same.
All done? Okay, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.